Hello YouTube, Salon Pantheist. Still haven't moved yet. I'm trying to find a place that's going to be near my college and near my work, so yeah, it's not going too well so far, but I am getting moved on. Anyway, I wanted to talk to today about conceptual reality. Now, I've done videos on this before, but I want to kind of jumble it all and stick it all in this one video, and then delete those and kind of go into better detail or whatever. Now, what conceptual reality is? Human beings, from when time we come out and we're babies or whatever, we're new to the world. We, in order to remember things, we make noises that signify that particular object, that particular person, and store it in our brains, and kind of like a file cabinet or whatever. Anything that links up to that person or to that thing, we assemble a concept of it. So basically, we get the whole idea of kind of setting like mom, for instance. They come up with their words. First it's gibberish, then they eventually learn our noises that we make and kind of formulate it to theirs, so therefore they can communicate. Okay, and this may sound a little strange, but this is probably how a baby would see it. Would be the fact that mom is the person that when they cry or whatever, they come. That's that form that comes, gets them, and comforts them, feeds them, changes them, takes care of them. Okay, so they know that when they cry, that their mom's going to come do that. Anything that they need, okay, they need to be changed, they need to be fed or whatever. They know that they cry. That concept that they come up with is going to come. And it's going to comfort them, and it's going to. They've linked all that stuff up with that concept, which is technically kind of linked up to the concept of crying, making that noise. Okay, and later on they develop gibberish, and then finally start developing our words. Okay, because if you don't develop words for something, then you're not going to remember it. Well, you'll remember it, but children do that. Even if they just label it a monster or whatever, it's still a word. You're still going to be able to think about it and conjure it up. Okay, I'll take it from a different point of view. Structuring the concepts. Okay, you got God. Okay, the word God and what the little definition that you got sprinkled about. You got Creator over here. You link that up. Okay, and you got eternity up here. You link those two up. Then you got omnipresent down here, you link that up. You got omnipotence right there, you link those up. Okay? Then before you know it, you got this algorithm, okay, that you're going to stick inside your mind, and it becomes the concept of God. Anytime you hear the word God, you are going to conjure all that concept into just that one word, that definition, so to speak. Okay? Take for instance the Eskimos. They're, the concepts vary on what exactly you're going to be exposed to. Okay, if you're exposed more to this than this person, you're going to have more words to describe the varying aspects of this, particular thing than that person would. Okay, that particular concept than that person would. Okay, take Eskimos for instance. They have several hundred words for, I believe, ice or snow, one of those two. Okay, person in the equator will probably only have one or two words because they're not exposed to it enough to distinguish the varying levels of ice and snow, the varying differences that there are, from slush to sleet and all that. Whereas an Eskimo would, because he's exposed to it more often, he notices it more often, he has to live there. He has to, by his very nature, for survival, understand the varying differences of the snow and ice. So before he comes up with his concept of snow and ice is a wider spectrum, but technically, I guess you could say it's a smaller one or whatever. Whereas the concept of ice and snow in the equator is very narrow. That's just ice. That's what it is. Okay, even if they probably don't even have, in some areas, don't even have words for ice and snow down there. But yeah, in the northern, for instance, in the northern states, if you live in a city, or even in the southern states or whatever, you live in a city, you get the concept of black ice, and that is when you got moisture on the ground at night on the blacktop, and it freezes over. You can't see it, so they come up with the concept of black ice. Okay. Yeah, that's their concept. Some people don't have that concept because they're not exposed to it. Okay, an artist. Another form of this is an artist is able to expose their view of the concept of red. Okay, is far wider than our concept of red, or it's far more divided. Okay, they can notice varying different shades of red, about 150, I think the average artist can, whereas the average person can only notice maybe 5 different shades of red. Okay, and it's because they're taught to notice it. They are exposed to the colors more often because they're artists. They think about it more, and they start noticing, hey, this is different from that, and Technically, there's more. There's like thousands of different, shades for one color, but our human eyes cannot really distinguish the differences. So we just kind of say, okay, it looks similar to this, so we'll stick it in that concept. All right. Another form of concept is continents. Okay. You have this huge landmass across the Pacific. I live in North America or whatever. This split up into Europe, Asia, and Africa. Okay. Technically, it's one huge landmass if you want to go by, the water barriers or whatever. Now, you go, and then they attach, but they divide it. They divide it into Europe, Asia, and Africa. Okay, more so, they actually attach Japan to Asia, which is separate. Japan itself is another concept. Okay, it's several different islands attached into one concept known as Japan. Governments, kingdoms, empires, they're all concepts in geography. Technically, go as far as in spiritual matters, religion, God, the pyramids themselves, the idea, the constellations that we have, the lumping of certain definitions or whatever, the groupings that we have, like, galaxy cluster, they're all concepts, okay, based on the form that we see, so we give a name to it. Okay, now, in terms of continents, if you go by the geological structure, then you have the Eurasian plate, you have the Indian plate, you have the Somali plate, you have the Nubian plate, and I think Saudi Arabia might be part of the Somali plate, or it's still breaking off. I can't remember. I think Saudi Arabia itself is actually its own little plate, the Arabian plate, I believe, yes. The Arabian plate, okay? And there's no Europe plate, there's no Asia plate, and despite what you've heard in the movie 2012, I'm sorry, people, there's no such thing as the African plate. Okay, it's two plates, Somalia and Nubian plate. Okay, if only one plate was to actually rise, okay, depending on the plate, one section of Africa is going to be underwater, the other section is not. Okay, that movie loses all credibility in terms of geological structure, and it loses its credibility in the fact that it actually is very superstitious. There's the Yellowstone's going to erupt, and that's the timelines were just anyway. That movie was a bad concept. Okay, but Hawaii's one. We have the Hawaiian island, and we have the other little islands. And we attach that into one concept of Hawaii. Indonesia, different islands. Okay, we attach into one concept of Indonesia. They all have the different names. They're all the conjoined concept of Indonesia. One of the islands is actually divided, okay, by a makeshift barrier, and it's called Malaysia, sorry. Okay, right there shows you that you have all these other islands that are just not attached at all, attached into one concept, but you have one island that is attached, separated by a concept. Okay, another concept will be race. Okay, I'd love to get into this one. Okay, I've been told many times the Aborigines are a black people with blonde hair. Well, technically, we could flip that concept and say that they're blonde people with black skin, or technically dark skin. Okay? Same with, white person who has dark hair. Okay? They're dark people with white skin. Okay? Now, you say, well, hair color, can change or whatever. You got, hair dye. Well, you got tanning lotion, you got skin lightening creams. Same thing. Another concept of that whole ordeal would be the fact that sexual attraction. What do you think it is? Do you think it's more based on the skin tone or the hair color? Surprisingly, it's the hair color. Okay, it's also the hair texture. Mainly for men towards women, but also women towards men. The hair color plays a big role in their attraction. That's why women dye their hair. But in certain African tribes, the men will actually dye their hair red. I think it's a sign of nobility or whatever, which in turn would attract a mate because, this person's important, they dye their hair red. I will try to leave a link below. I know the Dinka do it, but I believe there's other tribes as well of men that dye their hair red, and they have different concepts on what it means. Okay, so hair color plays a big role. It plays a much bigger role than skin color. Skin color is, okay, so technically you would go by hair color when you're talking about, sexual attraction. Okay, and you see this on dating sites. They'll say that they're blonde or whatever. Or, they'll even say eye color. That's another thing. That's actually more important once again than skin color. Okay, I have blue eyes. You can't see it because of the shadows, but yeah. Anyway, so that concept of skin colors only survived mainly because of the discrimination that we've had with it. Okay, and then there's also the concept of religion. I could go into this more detail, but I'm going to have to cut this video short. I will try to make another one. I'll try to get more detail. I'm going to erase those old videos probably soon. because I think this is going to be much better. Anyway.